This is a clarion call for all my good girlfriends and my good guy friends that want to be able to make a beautiful floral arrangement just like the celebrities have in their homes, or the rich, or the ones that you see in the beautiful magazines, or when you go to the floral shop and you see them in there. I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful floral arrangement, and it's not going to take you a lot of effort, and it's not going to take you a lot of time, and most importantly, it's not going to cost you a lot of money. You're going to be able to do this floral arrangement on the cheap. Now, when I'm out and about and people see me and they watch the channel, they kind of know who I am if you're a lover of gardening. Now, while I may not be getting a lot of views over here on YouTube, if you go to my Instagram page, baby, we've had views over there that reached 1 million. My stories, they get a lot of traction when I'm posting in my stories. So there are people that follow me that have millions of people on their account, and they share what I'm doing, whether I'm sharing from my YouTube page back over to my Instagram page, and therefore what I'm doing is often seen by eyes that I can't keep track of. So one of the things that's most requested when people see me out and about, they want to know how to do a beautiful floral arrangement. Now, I will say there are levels to when you're doing floral arrangements. But what I say is I'm going to teach you how to do a beautiful floral arrangement where it's not going to take a lot of skill. You're not going to need years of knowing how to do this, or having been to floral school, being an apprentice to a florist, if you will. You're going to be able to go wherever you get your flowers from, pick your color combinations, and put you a flower arrangement together. Now, I will say that when you look at a flower arrangement and you have the flower arrangements that are more symmetrical, where everything is kind of tight and packed in, is very balanced, is very shaped, those are going to be your most advanced flower arrangements, because the cuts and the way that you insert the stems, the ones that are packed very tight together, that's more of an advanced skill. Now, don't get me wrong. It's definitely something that you can learn how to do, with just taking your time and working with it. Hey, you can even put it together on your first try. And if you put it together and it does not come out the way that you want it to come out, pull everything out and start all over again. But the flower arrangements that I want you all to be thinking about when you are doing your floral arrangements is going to be the more free-flowing flower arrangements. The ones that are very over the top, very asymmetrical, that may have something sticking out this way, something sticking out that way. You have things going in all directions. Maybe it's asymmetrical. Those are going to be very easy to do, and that's what we're going to do today. What we're going to do is we're going to head back and we're going to grab our vase, and then I'll show you these beautiful florals that we have. And the star of our show is going to be some heirloom mums, because it's prime heirloom mum season. Let's get started. For our vase, the copper vase that I had, that's what we are going to be sitting our arrangement on. Now, one of the things that you want to focus on when you're trying to elevate your look is you want to look at accessories, if you will, that you can add to and around your floral arrangement to take it over the top. Now, it would be nice if we went in with something copper, something like this, but we're going to think outside of the box because we have a copper platter. So let's see what we can come up with. Have some black. We could do black. Black is an option, but black is not going to match with the florals that we have. Well, actually, black typically goes with anything, but we're not going to do black. So I'll take that back, because you can totally do black with the florals that I have already selected. The white back there, that's nice, but we're not going to do white because we want to kind of make everything blend in and not stand out. Glass is nice. It's always a beautiful option. The gray is beautiful as well. Certainly matches the kitchen. But what we're going to do is we're going to go with this container right here. Can you see the copper undertones? Slightly. You can see them. Like for right here, the copper undertones is aged. It's very antique, if you will. And I like that it looks like a beautiful stone urn. So this is what we're going to go with. We're going to go with this metal option here. We'll set our vase down to the side, and what we'll do, we'll get it washed out and we'll start to prep our florals, because anytime you do your floral arrangements, what I like to do is I like to condition my flowers. And what I'll do is I'll bring them home straight in, I'll give them a cut, and then as I'm arranging with them, I'll give them another cut. But in the event that you have your good girlfriends or your good guy friends that's coming over and you don't have time to do that, what you're going to do is just give them one cut. You can always come back in the next day and give your flower arrangements a second cut. Let's get this rinsed out. Magnolias, I am going to rinse these. Reason being, if I turn these around and you just look through them, so things of that nature, we want to make sure they're all rinsed out. Put a little bit of water in here first. Just a little bit. And then we're going to come in with our premium flower food. So you get these in the package typically with your flowers, but out of all of the packages of florals that I had, the only one that had the flower food was the roses. No, actually, it wasn't even the roses. It was the mums. It was the heirloom mums. Put a little bit of water in here first. Just a little bit. A pretty good level right there. A lot of our florals do have the longer stems, but we are going to fill it up a little bit higher so that way we don't have to refill it as much. This round sphere is going to serve as our frog here. And we're just going to put that down on the inside of it. This is what we look like around the container. Now, this side over here is heavier on our greenery here. Now, you can always, if you're not satisfied, you can always come in and make cuts to give you the show that you're looking for. So I just go in, cut, take off any of the excess foliage, and that's why we made sure we had our level the way we wanted it to be. And so I'm adding this right here, and then you just add it in right here. So however you want it to be. But these are going to be your easiest arrangements, the ones that are asymmetrical, the ones that are free-flowing. The ones that are symmetrical is going to take skill. You know, arrangements like these were some of my first arrangements that I was doing. That was kind of like cocked to the side, and it was no symmetry with it, but they look good. I was doing those probably like 7 years old. I was playing around with flowers and things of that nature, branches, sticking them all in together. And so when I tell you they are going to be some of your easiest arrangements, you may come in the next day and you may realize that you don't like your placement. You don't like, the way, like, let's say, for example, so on this side, because every which way you turn this, baby, you're going to get a different show. Every which way you turn this, you're going to be like, oh, this is absolutely amazing. These were the first arrangements that I started out with as a kiddo. So I've just always been naturally just drawn to flowers. Like naturally, like, okay, how can I do this? How can I make this? If somebody had some florals that they were throwing out, maybe they were changing out to their next look. Can I have them, as a little kiddo? And of course, they'll give them to you. And then once they know that that's what you like, then they're bringing you their old excess flowers. Like, hey, I'm going to be changing out this arrangement, or stop by on this day. You stop over there, they give you your arrangements, old vases that they found for a quarter or a nickel, because it was back in the day now. It was back in the day. So when you start to force yourself And what I mean by force is when you make the decision that, hey, flower arranging is something that I like to do, and I'm going to force myself to learn how to do floral arrangements because they're so super easy to do. Anybody can do a flower arrangement. They're just gorgeous, and I just love them. I absolutely love just arranging with flowers. And so, like, for example, we're heavy on this side right here. So you can technically come in, because I don't want to mess my flow up, because over here we're more free flowing. So I can come right here. And when you're cutting, watch where you cut it, because you definitely don't want to cut your flower arrangements and just put one here. So I would definitely say start off with more greenery, because your greenery is going to be your weight. Your greenery is going to be your foundation. And I'm telling you, once you get flower arranging down, there will never or should never be a time where you don't have some beautiful color in your home to grace a table or a sideboard, if you will. Say if you are entertaining and you want to move this out of the way, you can easily move this out of the way. Take your coffee, have some good old talk with your good girlfriends, and I'm telling you, you will not regret it. So drop down in the comment box. Let me know, when you're doing flower arrangements, how do you pick your colors? Or do you struggle with flower arranging? Is that one of the things that you struggle with? I would totally love to hear about it. Baby, I love this. And let's talk about the components. We have some heirloom mums in a champagne color. We came in with some spray roses, again in a champagne color. And then we came in with some St. John's wort. And we also used some magnolia, a classic. Anytime you can get your hands on some magnolia stems, baby, do it. Do it. And then whatever greenery that they have out, the plants that you choose is going to determine your movement. And since we're in my kitchen here, my kitchen is copper. So by my kitchen being copper, I like to get those colors that complement my kitchen. So no matter what season of the year it is, there's going to be some type of arrangement gracing the table. And then you see we have the Christmas tree in the backdrop here, and we miss not one beat. I mean, just all the way around is gorgeous. It doesn't matter which way you have this. But I will say, with your free flowing, that's the whole beauty of it. You don't have to worry about symmetry. Versus if we were being symmetrical with this arrangement, we would literally have to be so careful with the placement. It really takes eye to do that. Now, you probably can get it done on your first try, but if you're really going in and you're doing a tight arrangement, that takes skill. I'm telling you, I just love it. I absolutely love arranging. Let's start our next project. Paper whites are a crowd pleaser. Well, let me backstep a little bit, because you have some people who really don't like paper whites. For example, I have a good girlfriend. She absolutely hates the way that paper whites smell. But this year, she wanted me to plant her up some paper whites that she's going to be using in a room that doesn't have very much foot traffic, and she doesn't have to go in there often. She can tolerate the smell enough to come in and water the paper whites and then just go on to the next room. And the room where she's planting them in is closed off on both sides when you walk through. So you'll be able to see them as you walk down the hallway and as you walk on the other side of the room. But she doesn't necessarily have to smell them. She'll be able to appreciate the paper whites without having to bear the smell, if that makes sense. So with your paper whites, we're going to come in with the paper whites, and we're just going to do them with soil. Now, when I tell you there are little bulb vases that you can use for your paper whites in order to plant them up, and you just take a single bulb or two, you set it down in there, and the water just lightly comes up to the bottom of the bulb, and then the roots grow down into the water. Then you can come in and plant your paper whites to where you have a gravel basin and you have water in the bottom of them. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead, we're going to plant these paper whites up, and then we'll move on to our next step, because today is going to be an exciting day. One of the things to keep in mind with your paper whites is with your paper whites, when you're not storing your paper whites, I don't store mine in these plastic bags. I take my excess and I put them inside of a paper bag and I store them in a cool, dark place. And then I make sure I plant the paper whites up in succession. That way I'll have continuous blooms until these bloom, until the next round of paper whites bloom. And so they're a very cheap, inexpensive way to have color throughout the winter time. You know, on those days when it's winter outside and you're really longing for some type of color and the only thing that's out is basically foliage or foliage houseplants, unless you did some pre-prep, then having paper whites and different bulbs that you force into bloom are a great way to add color when you're longing to get your hands in the dirt during the wintertime. Remember, when you are planting your paper whites, you want to make sure you plant these like any other bulb. And what I mean by that is this is your basal plate, so your roots essentially come from the bottom of here. This is the top of the bulb. You can already see it's giving you the direction. And we're going to come and we're going to put the soil up to about right here with our paper whites. Now, for a more decorative style, you can kind of plant them like anchored on top of the soil, but we're going to kind of plant these deep, okay? Other thing to keep in mind, if you can't figure out which way to plant your bulb, you can always plant it on the side and it'll find its way to the light. But for these, we know that this is the bottom, this is the top, and this is how we're going to plant these, because we want these to come up as quick as possible. So for the first one, this one, we only need 3 bulbs inside of this. This is going for a design that I already have planned out. So I know I need just 3 in this one. And then I'll put 4 in this one. So either or. I'm only planting up a total of 7 bulbs. Okay, so that's enough soil right there. And then I'll take the rest of the soil that's left in the scoop and we will put it all in this one right here. I'm not worried about them coming to the top. Most often I will fill the can up, but for this scenario, we're not going to, because I know I have a lot of planting that's coming up and I kind of need to reserve my soil. Things like this, I go ahead and I snatch them out because it's not going to do us any good. So I just take my bulb and I'm just going to plant it in there just like that. So we have 3. And then for this one right here, we have 4 that's going in this one. We'll come in here and you see how I have these smaller bulbs here on the side. Now you can go ahead and pop these off. I leave them because sometimes you'll get a flower, most often not. But one thing for sure that you're going to get is you are going to get some leaves. So it adds to the overall look of whatever you're planting up. So I'll just plant this here on this side. And sometimes I will plant around the perimeter of the pot. So kind of like this, and not put one in the middle. It just all depends on what type of design I'm going for or what look. For this one, I kind of want, okay, so we're going to put this one right here. And the other thing too is if you alternate the back and the front of the bulb, it gives you a better look. and then 4. So I just have that one on the side. So I am just going to add a little bit of soil here, just right up kind of like to the neck. The paper whites are all done. So you know, with anything that I do in my garden, I try to find ways that I can push the limits, get blooms quicker and things of that nature. So let me show you what I do with my paper whites next that I think makes a world of difference when it comes to how fast they bloom. We're going to take our paper whites and we're going to put them on the shelf where we can go ahead and add some energy. So let's do the next step, and then we'll head to the antique shop because I'm looking for a few things to put out in the sunroom. We're going to just set these right here, and we'll push these back, because what I do is as I'm planting up my successional blooms, I'll go ahead and I'll add more to the collection. So I typically will start left to right. So right here we have an amaryllis bulb. Typically I don't store my paper whites and my amaryllises together. It's just that this one right here is allotted for an arrangement. And then right here we have some more paper whites that should be ready to use for a successional bloom pretty soon. So the one thing we do need to do is we need to water these babies in to activate them. We'll just take a little bit of water and just water these in. Same thing right here. We'll just take some water and just water them in. It'll get the bulb activated, and in no time we'll have flowers. I love this cabinet right here. Is this for sale? A lot of times you'll see these cabinets, and the cabinets are not actually on sale. It's just for display only. And I am not seeing a tag on this cabinet at all. So they'll have like the not for sale signs on them. Now this is sharp. 7,500. This is absolutely gorgeous. This is beautiful. So when I come across a little small booth like this, I really like to go in and just take my time, because it just always seems like, because there's so much in here, everything is kind of like hidden, if you will. So I definitely love to take my time. You guys, I love this green. This is absolutely beautiful. And look at how many pieces they have. I also don't want to give up on potentially finding a table. So I like to go in and just cruise everything, see what I can find. This booth right here seems like it's a lot of Christmas. I like to thrift Christmas items if I can find some good finds. And I like that they have the Christmas items out before it's actually Christmas. To find some blue items for my sunroom, and they have a ton of blue, but I'm looking for actually this right here. I wanted to come back and pick this up. This blue platter here, I think it's an absolute find, and it's the color blue that goes inside of my sunroom or my greenhouse. You know, I go back and forth between calling it a greenhouse and a sunroom, but this is actually what I'm looking for. There's a lot of good items, like blue and white items inside of this area. Let's walk back and see if we see anything more. I just always like to browse through, even though I may or may not get something. Sometimes I'll just go ahead and get it at that time. Other times I'll make a mental note and then I'll come back. So just some Christmas stuff, and then some books and things of that nature. Now in this booth right here, I love this, absolutely love it. And it's on sale for $5. You cannot beat this. This is a win, so we're going to get this as well. Look at this. Now I have one similar to this, but it is actually in silver. This one right here has copper, and I have a copper kitchen, but most often when I find pieces like this, what I like to do is I like to turn these into vases. And the fact that it's copper, like I don't know. Typically though, these have a stand that they sit on, and I'm not seeing the stand. I feel like the stand just really just makes the piece, if you will. Does it come? I don't know, y'all. I sure like it, but if I get this, I will want to use this as a vase. So I don't think this is going to work for us. I'll just set it back. This is nice though. I'll think on it. Sometimes I'll see pieces like this, and then I'll come back and I'll get the piece. But if I could get this top of this off, then I totally would buy this. But I don't want to force it and end up breaking it and then have to buy it anyways. Because you know the old saying, baby, if you break it, then you're going to buy it. Because I had walked by this, and I always like to walk back through to see if I can find anything. Walking back through, that's when I ended up seeing this piece. It's gorgeous. I'll think on it. If I end up wanting to buy it, I'll just come back and get it later. I see this chip in here, so we're going to go ahead and pass on this.